Hey guys, want to make your home cozier and save a little more money? Take a free online energy assessment from Energy Trust of Oregon. It's fast, easy, and gives you personalized tips to boost your home energy savings, lower bills, and more comfort. Shoot, I'm taking this quiz. Let's take it together at visitenergytrust.org/assessment. We can join thousands of Oregonians already making smarter energy moves. That's energytrust.org/assessment.
You don't have to put your bicycle away for the season just because it's rainy out there. With a little bit of preparation, riding through the rain can actually be pretty awesome. It's a great way to see Portland and stay connected to the city during the darker months. Ride Through the Seasons is a PBOT program that encourages Portlanders to try out cycling year-round through a series of group rides and skill-building workshops. Plus, PBOT is hosting a Rainy Rider photo contest in November where you have the chance to win some awesome swag. To learn more and to get involved, text BIKE to 888-520-0526 or visit portland.gov/ride seasons.
Today on CityCast Portland, we're talking about the latest developments surrounding Trump's federal troop deployment, the aftermath of U.S. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem's visit to our city, and what comes next. Plus, some good news regarding city parks and vendors. Joining me on this Friday News Roundup are the Oregonian City Hall reporter Shane Dixon Kavanaugh and our very own executive producer, John Notarianni. It's Friday, October 10th. I'm Claudia Meza, and this is what Portland's talking about. Welcome, everyone, to the Friday News Roundup. Shane, John, thank you for joining me this morning.
Hey, good morning, Claudia.
Oh, my goodness. Here we are again.
We've decided that we're going to do a super montage of all of your greetings to me, and we're just going to air it one day without any context. I hope you're cool with that because we're delighted.
Well, I would listen to that CityCast episode.
For those of you new to the show, today is the day we break down some of the biggest local stories of the week with some of the best and brightest journalists in town. But before we jump into the news, I usually ask our guests an opening question so our listeners can get to know them just a little better. And today's opening question is based on a piece by the Willamette Week where they asked their readers to contribute useful tasks for the National Guard troops if they were sent to our city, since protecting the ICE building from 10 to 15 protesters in various costumes will probably not be the best use of their time and our tax dollars. So they gathered 47 ideas and shared them in an article. Among them were helping Friends of Forest by getting rid of invasive ivy, in Forest Park, which I thought was pretty good. Yeah. Also invasive related, going through all of Portland and removing the very invasive and stinky trees of heaven, which was already brought up as a possible job for the troops earlier this week by one of our listeners, by the way. So I guess that's a very popular one.
Yeah.
And of course, the old filling of potholes on Burnside. My personal fave is somebody suggested they do a nightly laser light show along the side of the Edith Green Federal Building to help downtown foot traffic. And that's the one that I would vote for. So nice. my question to you two is, what would your suggested task be?
I spent a minute trying to think of something funny, but even my funny ideas, when you put a federal troop in there, don't get funny anymore. I was like, maybe policing the line at Portland bars and telling people not to line up out the door. But I don't want a guy with an AK-47 doing that. So I'm just going to go real earnest and let's say some WPA era style, let's build sidewalks, man. Let's just build a bunch of sidewalks in East Portland. Yeah, let's use it to make the city better.
Love it.
Similar to John, I at first was thinking, perhaps I could say something clever or cheeky. And then I wanted to back off from that a little bit. Although I will say Laser Floyd, like Laser Pink Floyd or Laser Palooza would be pretty lit,
Yeah.
I could really get behind that. But in all seriousness, I was thinking about this a little bit and just imagining and thinking about, we have a lot of veterans in Portland who need a lot of help. And I was thinking, why not have the National Guard here to do just some real in-depth outreach to veterans here in Portland. And then similar to John as well, doing something like a large beautification project across the city. Like, why not partner with Solve and do like a major cleanup in East Portland?
Yeah.
And by cleanup, I'm not saying sweep homeless camps, but like there are lots of neglected areas that could just use some love.
Yeah.
And you could do that with 200 National Guards people.
Mm-hmm.
Shane, I think that might be my favorite one now, even though lasers would be cool. I really love that idea. Mine was more like helping elderly people with yard maintenance and other tasks around their house. But I feel like yours, it would be a personal connection. I love it. Well, we'll send them in. We'll see.
We'll submit our suggestions. We'll see how well they're received.
Yeah. All right. On to the news of the week. So I'm actually kicking things off today with a little update on what the hell is going on regarding the appeals and rulings related to Trump's federal troop deployment and a few other related newsworthy items that have popped up since we last checked in on Wednesday's midweek roundup. So to catch you up, on September 28th, Trump federalized and began mobilizing 200 Oregon National Guard members to supposedly protect federal officers in the ICE building in South Portland. He wanted them to stand guard for 60 days. As of our taping, on Thursday morning, federalized National Guard troops have not entered the city. And that's because a Trump-appointed judge halted the president's plans twice over this past weekend. U.S. District Judge Karen J. Emmergut first put a temporary hold on Oregon National Guard troops from stepping in, and then on any other federalized National Guard troops once Trump began to mobilize the National Guard from both California and Texas. Anyhow, Trump's administration kicked their case up to the 9th U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals, and this past Wednesday afternoon, that court issued another temporary hold, but allowed for the federalization of our state's National Guard to continue. They're now hearing arguments Thursday morning, which is when we're taping, so when this airs, we might have a ruling. Now, the other big thing that happened since we last checked in is that U.S. Department of Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem visited Portland to visit the ICE facility and speak with local leaders. Because of her visit, police taped off a large chunk of the area surrounding the ICE building in South Portland, just standard security stuff. And on Tuesday, Noem took a photo op on top of the federal building to, I guess, show the world the chaos below, but all she saw was press, a smattering of protesters, and someone dressed like a chicken, all while protesters blasted the Benny Hill theme song. And honestly, could not think of a better theme song for this administration. According to Noem, she witnessed our police officers cheering on protesters, which was neither caught on camera and refuted by Portland Police Chief Bob Day. Now, I did see other videos circulating around of police officers interacting with protesters in a friendly manner, but they were very much doing their job and not inciting or cheering protesters on in any way. And the reason the vibe is changing between officers and protesters, from what I'm seeing, is that the protesters are 100% being peaceful and even downright silly by wearing blow-up costumes and having nightly dance parties. Also, there was a federal convoy that straight up wanted to run through a crowd of protesters. And Portland police basically told federal agents, if you do that, we will arrest you. So I think our police officers doing their job, doing it well, ruffled Kristi Noem. And I think she was expecting the mayor, the governor, and all of our police force to bend the knee. And that's just not happening. But before I hand it off to you guys, let's take a quick break. Dive back in time to explore what lurked beneath the surface in Monsters of the Abyss, aquatic predators past and present, on view now at the Oregon Museum of Science and Industry. This fully immersive exhibition brings guests through millions of years to witness the rise and fall of Earth's most famous and feared aquatic predators. Visitors can also come face to face with a full replica of a Spinosaurus, an aquatic dinosaur larger than a T-Rex. There are real fossils and full replica skeletons of some of these sea monsters. Plus, there are live animals in the exhibit, including an Asian water monitor, a diamond terrapin, a caiman lizard, and so much more. Get your tickets today at omsi.edu. That's omsi.edu.
You've probably heard that downtown Portland has a few more empty storefronts than most of us would like. Have you ever thought up a big idea for a way to help downtown thrive? Well, now's your chance to bring it to life. Pivot Property Management is teaming up with CityCast Portland to launch a design contest, and they're asking for your boldest visions for businesses or community spaces to fill 5 of their downtown spaces. All through October, we want to hear your best ideas. Maybe it's a seasonal pop-up for the holidays, a short-term community hub, or a brand new business ready to make a long-term impact in downtown. From practical solutions to pie-in-the-sky dreams, this is your opportunity to shape the future of our city. Submissions are open through October 19th. You can learn more about the properties and share your idea using the form linked in today's show notes, or head to our website at portland.citycast.fm.
Shane, you just wrote a piece about the 4 asks that Noem gave our mayor and what his response to it was. Like, could you share that?
Yeah, so we knew that Mayor Keith Wilson was going to be one of the people that Noem met with when she was in town on Tuesday. And then on Wednesday, the city put out a news release and included a follow-up letter from the U.S. Attorney of Oregon that had outlined the demands that Noem and other federal officials had made to the mayor during the visit on Tuesday. And subsequently, we also got to see what Keith Wilson's responses to those demands were. So there were 4 of them that were highlighted in this letter from the U.S. Attorney of Oregon, starting with number 1. The feds wanted to see that all federal officers must be able to come and go from the ICE office without harassment or hindrance. And I think one way to sort of interpret or look at that, if we're talking about harassment specifically, I think they seem to be suggesting that the feds were asking the mayor of Portland to have protesters stop being mean to ICE agents and other people when they're coming out into the streets. I don't know how else to sort of interpret that. But what Wilson basically said was, we're going to just sort of continue to monitor things on a case-by-case basis and decide what's in the best interest of Portland and our community on that ask. But thanks for asking. Request or demand number 2 from the feds was that they wanted Portland to create a permanent perimeter around the ICE office. And this is a direct quote, "That perimeter must be at least as large as the perimeter state and local police set up today for the secretary's visit." So here's the interesting thing that we learned yesterday, and I also reported on this. So Wilson did not directly respond to that request in his letter sent back yesterday. However, we learned that the mayor was initially going to keep that perimeter in place, not because of the request by Secretary Noem, but because police and the mayor had sort of determined that this might be the best way to keep people safe because they have seen sort of things begin to escalate over the weekend, especially with regard to tactics and use of force made by the feds against protesters. Mm-hmm. But we learned that there was some pushback and some questions raised by members of the Portland City Council saying, if we keep this perimeter up, that could actually escalate things. And that could bring more people down. And they could see that this would be a way that the city was trying to stop people from expressing their First Amendment and free speech views. So as of yesterday afternoon, beginning around 3 or 4 o'clock, that perimeter came down. Request or demand number 3 from the feds was that Portland must set up what they were calling free speech zones so that protesters are channeled into, quote, appropriate areas. Mayor's response to the feds on that is, the entire city of Portland is a free speech zone.
The free speech zone thing is so Orwellian, It is just like such a dystopian move to call a corralled place, which is the only place to protest, a free speech zone. But
we've seen those at like RNC and DNC conventions and things like that in the past in other cities. But, given Portland's longstanding commitment to the First Amendment and people's free speech rights, the idea of a free speech zone in Portland that didn't encompass the entire city just sounds a little off or silly. And then last but certainly not least, the feds were asking that Portland prioritize any call for assistance based on threats to federal property or persons by the Portland Police Bureau, i.e., in addition to what might be happening throughout all 146 square miles of the city at any given time, that the ICE facility should be priority number one for local law enforcement. To which the mayor said, we're trying to have extra police down near the ICE facility to monitor things, but we're going to be making our priority calls on a case-by-case basis depending on what's happening there and elsewhere.
Well, I wanted to say a few videos have been circulating and going viral online of our protesters. There is a protest frog. Shane, have you seen this protest frog in your reporting?
I was down at the ICE facility for about 5 hours on Monday, which was actually just by and large a relatively tame evening.
Mm-hmm.
The frog was definitely there. The frog has been an object of fascination.
Right?
I think of all the different characters that have been memed from the protests, from the chicken man to unicorns to other folks who are showing up there, the frog seems to be capturing a lot of hearts and minds. And in fact, hopefully by the time this episode runs, this won't be a spoiler, but I had pitched our editors this morning that we need to profile the frog.
Oh, you must.
Yes.
We need an exclusive interview with the frog.
But I get big like sports mascot energy from the frog. Like, does the frog speak?
He
Like,
does.
The frog's also been shot with pepper balls and has been gassed and
he's still standing. So the reason the frog first went viral is that, in those air blow up costumes, there's usually like a vent for them to breathe.
Mm-hmm.
A federal officer shot mace or some sort of pepper spray in that vent when he was turned around and he was doing nothing. Like, how evil is that?
It's just fucking cruel.
That went viral. It was so fucking cruel. That went viral. The dude never got out of the costume. He was like, I'm Mexican. I've had spicier things for breakfast. And he continued. And that is when the frog became the frog. And so now he's getting memorialized in artwork, t-shirts, songs online. And it is weirdly inspiring the youths across America, with many of them saying, if anything happens to that frog, we're going to Portland. So it's pretty serious here. That frog, it really has become a symbol of like our protest.
Yeah, I also just want to say, I got a text message this morning from my former roommate who I lived together when I lived in New York for a number of years, Mr. Gregory Bodkin. And his text to me this morning was, I can't believe this is real. And it was a video of the frog at the protest.
And, there have been other protests. OPB also showed an adorable dog protest that happened over the weekend. I believe it was just dog owners walking their dogs nowhere near the federal building. So they were not getting at all pepper sprayed or anything.
I think it was near Revolution Hall.
Yeah. But it was still like an adjacent protest. I'm personally very proud to see how Portlanders are protesting. The response, unless you're on Fox News, to most of the world, it is looking very uneven as to what's happening. And I feel like that's the narrative we need to keep pushing. It's just like the Benny Hill theme song. Like, what are you clowns doing?
Yeah. I mean, for me, the thing that my head is just spinning on is like where all of this goes from here, right? Because there have been so many headlines flying back and forth about judges' orders and other orders and conflicting orders. And like, it is 9:25 in the morning as we are talking right now. And the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals is currently doing oral arguments about possibly lifting the ban that had been placed on the deployment of troops. So theoretically, at some point today, we might be hearing a resolution that could lead to the troops being deployed into the city. The judges said they were not going to rule from the bench on this, which means I don't think that we're going to come out of this taping and suddenly have like a major headline in front of us, but it is likely that we'll hear something today over the course of the day. Once it gets to the audience on Friday, we're going to know more. And then once that happens, like, it's anyone's guess. Since there was the decision to maintain the troops in federal control, even though they haven't been deployed, it does seem like this is something that could change very, very quickly, like within the course of a few hours.
Mm-hmm. Do you guys know if it's still on the docket that it's going to be Californian National Guard troops or Texan National Guard troops, or is it just Oregonian?
I mean, sort of my general understanding at this point is that because of the federal judge's orders earlier this week, Governor Kotek has already told the California National Guard to go back home to California. Texas National Guard have not been deployed to Oregon. However, I think my understanding at this point is that they are in Chicago now and are potentially going to Memphis soon too. But I think that the big issue is around whether or not Oregon's National Guard is going to be coming to Portland.
Yeah.
They haven't been to the city yet. They were out on the coast as of a couple of days ago.
I asked because California is now using Trump's move to send their National Guard to Oregon as proof that they're not needed to keep peace in Los Angeles, which was Trump's argument for federalizing and sending them to LA. And they're just like, so we don't need them then, right? Because you're sending them to Oregon. So now just know that there are legal motions happening in California because of Oregon. They're using us in a sense as like a way to get back into that court, which is great. But I also wanted to point out that another clip going viral is a short clip of testimony from a state Senate subcommittee hearing on September 30th. Oregon National Guard Brigadier General Alan R. Gronwald is speaking in front of Oregon lawmakers and responding to questions about a possible deployment. Again, this is back in September. And he is quoted as saying that the Guard soldiers serve two purposes: one, to defend America, and two, to protect Oregonians. And so by serving in this mission, they will be protecting any protesters at the ICE facility. And that clip is bringing a lot of relief to people, because in the event that the Oregon National Guard is deployed, it's clear their objective is still very much in line with who they are supposed to serve: Oregonians. And I think that's why that clip is going viral, is that, hey guys, if for some reason this federalized National Guard does end up coming through, this is what they're being told. Kind of gave me a little hope.
I hope that's the case. I mean, I genuinely hope that's the case. Reading the tenor of the moment, though, I would say I'm not optimistic that that mission is going to be fulfilled, or that those orders are going to persist over the coming weeks if they do get deployed. But like, here's hoping. And wouldn't that be fucking amazing?
Right?
If the troops do get deployed and end up just turning and protecting the protesters. I mean, I think that's pretty optimistic, but yeah, that would be nice if that were the case.
It's kind of happening with our Portland police force. And who would have known that in 2020, if we had a time machine?
Oh my God, yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying with what's going on right now? Like, who would have known? Right now, it's like the perfect time for them to have their character arc. And I feel like they're taking it.
I'll tell you, my brain has kind of been melting over the last few days as someone who covered many of the nightly protests in 2020, and the sort of characterization that the Portland Police Bureau were completely in the tank for the Proud Boys and other right-wing extremists, to now sort of hear the national narrative being perpetuated by a lot of these social media influencers and quote-unquote independent journalists on the right, that somehow the Portland Police Bureau is really just in the tank for Antifa. What a heel turn, if that's the case.
Yeah.
This is bigger than anything I've seen in professional wrestling.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And I think what capped that off was because they actually held a conservative influencer accountable for his actions during a protest. I think it was like Nick Sorter. And they charged him. They released him, but they charged him. And I think that really incensed the Fox crowd. Like, they were just like, how dare you? But I guess he was starting shit, and the police were like, you gotta go, buddy.
That's how it should be. I mean, the one last thing that I want to say on all of this is just, it is interesting seeing how this is beginning to spiral out into conversation in the rest of the country, and how states across the country are beginning to take sides on this issue. I don't know if you guys saw, but ahead of today's oral arguments, there was a number of briefs in support of the Trump administration and in support of Oregon and Portland. Right? 20 conservative-leaning states filed a brief in support of the Trump administration's mobilization. Then 20 states, plus the governors of Pennsylvania and Kansas and Kentucky, filed a brief against Trump in support of Oregon, saying that the deployment is unconstitutional and violates state sovereignty. They're saying that while California, Oregon, and Illinois may have been Trump's targets, tomorrow it could be any state. So, like, literally, like, a majority of the states in the country, while this isn't like a binding resolution or anything, have gone on the record standing up in favor of or opposed to these deployments, which is, to me, a very wild moment to be in.
For sure. People keep saying this online, and I totally agree. I'm like, the history books are going to be wild for this chapter.
Historians just rubbing their hands together, being like, let me at it.
They're just like, and then there was a frog. Well, you guys, thank you so much for talking through all of this with me. I know, just FYI, if you're listening, things are probably changing. Hit up the Oregonian, hit up all of your local trusted outlets, find out what's happening. We unfortunately cannot see the future. But let's take a quick break here. And when we come back, more headlines of the week. Okay, I have the next 60 seconds to convince you to go check out Doer Jeans. You can time me. Are we ready? Okay, go. Doer makes stylish, bike-friendly clothes that are designed to keep you cool, comfortable, and looking good. They're pioneers of blending technical innovation with everyday clothing without it looking like boring athletic wear. Like, even if these clothes weren't made with Cool Max, which is supposed to regulate your body temp and wick moisture, you would want to wear them. They gave me a pair of jeans to try out, and y'all, they look good. And they're not harnessing the full power of the sun and directing it straight to my legs like most other jeans do when it's sunny and above 70 degrees. Doer is opening a new store right here in Portland on Northwest 23rd. And CityCast Portland listeners get 15% off their first order. You can either just mention the code CCPDX for your first in-store purchase or go online at shopdoer.com/CCPDX. That's shopduer.com/CCPDX. 60 seconds on the dot. This episode is brought to you by Mubi, a global streaming service dedicated to elevating great cinema. On Mubi, you can stream beautiful hand-picked films anytime, anywhere. And right now, you can stream Lurker, a sharp psychological thriller and the directorial debut of the Bear and Beef writer-producer Alex Russell. It follows a 20-something retail clerk who crosses paths with a rising pop star and slowly worms his way into their world. As the line between friend and fan blurs, access and proximity turns into a matter of life and death. You can watch Lurker and so much more exclusively on Mubi, and the best part, you can try it for free for 30 days on us. Just head to mubi.com/citycast25. That's mubi.com/citycast25. Well, Shane, you are talking us through something a little bit more hopeful and more centered around our city. So I am very excited. Take it away, Shane.
Yeah, it's going to be a pretty dramatic pivot from some of the weightier topics we've been discussing this morning. But I just wanted to take a moment to discuss the fact that Portland right now is looking for ways and has rolled out a big announcement that they are seeking to cut costs and red tape in order to bring more food carts and mobile vendors to city parks. So basically, any licensed mobile vendor will have the opportunity to basically show up at parking lots within 39 different Portland parks and green spaces around the city to sell their food or their crafts or their other things. And they've got a new sort of system in place where you can basically use, if you're one of these vendors, our Parking Kitty app to get a license to set up to vend for a day. It's going to cost those small businesses only $5 to do so. It's going to be sort of on a first come, first served basis. And the idea behind this is just to try to continue to activate public spaces around the city to bring more people out and to sort of meet a demand that people have been asking for quite some time, to make things a little easier for small businesses. And I thought what was also interesting about this announcement and decision by the city is simultaneously we have a Portland City Councilor, Mitch Green, who is also looking at ways to make it easier for small businesses, specifically like sidewalk vendors, to set up shop around Portland in commercial areas around the city. So there's kind of this synergy and convergence about trying to help smaller businesses and entrepreneurs navigate what's usually a lot of burdensome administrative red tape to make things sort of easier for businesses to sell things and to just create more connection points around the city for Portlanders to come out and enjoy the many things that their fellow residents have to share and sell.
I love it. John, how many times have you been like at any park and been like, I wish there were Because I know for me, I'm just like, I'm hungry now. I'm talking specifically Cathedral Park because there's that hill.
I was going to say, like, I have a distinct memory of you having a rant being like, why don't we do this in Portland on this very show? Of like, I want to be able to have food trucks in Cathedral Park. So, Claudia, I think that you can take credit for this policy initiative.
Was this my idea?
This was your idea. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Did you throw like a quarter into the Zoltar machine and make a wish?
I did.
Of all the harebrained policy ideas we've come up with on this show, this is the first one to hit.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure this was a very popular idea that had been circulating around town, I would hope.
I think you can take credit.
Okay, John, I will take credit.
I will say, so there is a map associated with the city's website about all of this.
Ooh.
They are looking at 4 spots in Cathedral Park. So you could even have an entire array of snacks available to you as well.
Great, because it's a huge park.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
What I'm thinking is, Shane, will this kick in during the summer? I'm assuming they're not going to start like now.
No, we're off to the races. It's happening.
That is so cool. I'm just saying, I'm predicting the best summer ever. That is what we're going to have. I'm just saying, this summer is going to be lit in Cathedral Park.
Yeah. I will say for small businesses, $5 a day. I mean, that is nothing.
So cheap.
Like,
Yeah.
that is such a great opportunity. Also, while I am a big fan of the convenience of the Parking Kitty app, that's actually cheaper than Parking Kitty parking. So can I just like pull my car up and be like, I'm a food truck?
Well, what are you going to be selling, bud?
Cheez-Its, Gardettos. That's a good one.
Oh, that's a good one.
Sodas.
You know what I would love, John, is for you to be so cheap that it turns you into a business. I just would love that.
Sorry, I'm going to launch my food cart empire. I'm done with CityCast. It's been real. Thank you all.
It's going to be called cheap parking. No one's going to get it.
The one thing that I've been wondering about this is whether or not there are going to be specific parks that become like the go-to spot where there is just fierce competition on the day-to-day.
Yeah, I imagine.
Trying to carve out a spot. And I am just wondering what level of demand there's going to be among these vendors. And then also just curious to see like what might actually pop up. Like I, have big hopes and dreams, but also what if we just end up with somebody selling like Totino's pizzas for $10 a pop?
I mean, honestly, if I'm at the park and there's someone selling Totino's pizzas, like
I was going to say,
I'm in.
Yeah, don't threaten us with a good time, Shane.
Well, I don't know. I'm like more of a Tombstone or Red Baron type person.
Okay, gotcha.
So.
In all seriousness, though, if you think of any major food cart pod that exists now, water hookups, electrical hookups, like there is a lot of infrastructure. So it's not like, we're going to suddenly have like the Hawthorne Asylum food cart pod popping up at Cathedral Park. Like this is going to necessarily have to be like a different scale and scope. But like, still, that does not dampen my enthusiasm for it.
But on the topic of Cathedral Park, so I'm just curious, like Claudia, with the promise of there being, food carts or other vendors at Cathedral Park, is that going to be drawing you to that park more often?
Oh, hell yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh, hell yeah. Because every day I go through what am I going to eat? But also like I have to walk my dog. 2 birds, 1 burrito, let's go. That's the saying, right, John?
Yeah.
Sorry, I was waiting for you to take a sip, too.
Listener, that was right when I took a sip of coffee, which almost came out my nose.
I mean, would it not for you, Shane, knowing that, your local park might have some grub or some fun things to eat? Wouldn't you're like, what else should we do today? Like, let's go to the park.
Yeah, well, guess what? I combed through that list of 39 parks and natural areas, and my 2 local parks are not on the goddamn list, okay?
Is this why you're so mad?
I am mad. I'm still going to go to the park.
Montevilla Erasure.
Wow.
I did see that Forest Park is on the list, and I
sorry. They put Forest Park over Montevilla.
They put Forest Park, which...
That's not even a real park.
I'm sure this is not what they mean, but imagine like being like 10 miles in on the Wildwood Trail and coming across like a waffle stand. Like, how great would that be?
I would be so into it.
Yeah.
It could even be themed. Like they're like grilling mushrooms while you're out there hunting for mushrooms. You're just like, oh, I love this. This is happening. Oh, but Shane, I'm so sorry. Would you like me to put another quarter in the Zoltar machine? By the way, I love that we now think we're a wishing machine. That's how government works, right? I wish it. Well, you guys, Thank you so much for hanging out with me. For everyone listening, I hope that you are taking care of yourselves. We know this is a very stressful time for a lot of people. Just know that there's great people on the ground like Shane reporting, making sure that you're getting the truth of what's actually happening. But before we head out, John has some shout outs.
Yes, still got so many shout outs from people who joined the Portland Neighbors program during our membership drive last week. Thank you so much to everyone who joined. We hit our goal, which is amazing. Today, I want to thank Thomas T., Alicia O., Moses G., Joan S., Kathleen M., Jessica C., Carrie T. I know Carrie. Thank you, Carrie. Lisa G., Petra G., Katie W., Natalie D., and Dana H. When you join as a neighbor, we'd be so happy to read your shout outs of your name, also of places you love in Portland on the show. And through today, we have extended the CityCast tote bag offer for new Portland neighbors. So if you sign up today, you're still in the running to get that tote bag. You can join at membership.citycast.fm.
Not to mention ad-free listening.
And a free food cart in your neighborhood park.
Ooh, Shane, did you hear that?
I did.
All right.
Not sure how I'm going to execute that one, but I'm saying it.
It's just going to be John and his freaking bag of Fritos and his Crosstech hatchback opened up. Just a cooler full of RC Cola.
And Totino's.
Come one, come all.
Oh, man. Well, thanks again, you guys. And I hope everyone has a wonderful weekend.
Yeah, thanks so much, Claudia.
Yeah, be well.
That's all for today here on CityCast Portland. Thank you so much for listening. Our podcast production team this week was John Notarianni, Julia Fiaioni, Laura Satsui, PJ Shahamat, and myself. Our Hey Portland newsletter editor is Rachel Monahan, and our host is me, Claudia Meza. Original music by Jenny Conley and Stephen Drizos. Additional music by All the Kimonos, as well as Sarah the Instrumentalist, Timothy Infinite, and Gregory David, courtesy of Epidemic Sound, alongside Opal 99 and D-May, courtesy of Triple Scoop Music. We'll be back Monday morning with more from around the city. Until then, see you at Slim's.